Joe Biden is an American statesman and politician. In the 70s, he was one of the youngest senators, and now he is the oldest president in the history of the United States. Joe Biden, how the 46th President of the United States lives and where he got his millions. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. was born on November 20th, 1942 in Scranton, Pennsylvania. He is the first of 4 children in the family. He has a younger sister and 2 brothers. The father of the future president, Joseph Biden Sr., grew up in a rich family. His father was a manager of the oil company American Oil, but since Biden Sr. tried starting his own business, he couldn't keep the inherited fortune. His mother, Catherine Eugenia, was of Irish descent. In 1953, the Biden family had to leave their wealthy home in Scranton and moved to an apartment in Claymont, Delaware, and then later to nearby Wilmington, where his father took up a job selling used cars. His parents raised their children as Catholics, so in Wilmington, Joseph attended St. Helena Catholic School. Since childhood, Joe stuttered a lot and was bullied by his peers. They called him Bye-Bye, as the boy would repeat the first syllable of his last name several times. Thanks to many hours of reciting poems in front of the mirror, Joe was able to significantly improve his pronunciation, and by the age of 20, he almost overcame stuttering. After graduating from middle school, Biden attended the private preparatory school of the Catholic college, Archmere Academy in Claymont. There he became a member of the college football team and also played baseball. In addition, Biden was directly involved in student life and was elected class president several times. According to Biden, he had to work part-time cleaning windows and weeding gardens to help his parents pay for his education. Later, Joe attended Delaware University, where he graduated in 1965 with an average grade of C, receiving a bachelor's degree in history and political science. At first, the young man was not too interested in studying. Once he even doused the campus director with a fire extinguisher just for fun and almost got expelled from the university. He then attended Syracuse University Law School in upstate New York. There, due to plagiarism in the final work on legal methodology, he was threatened with expulsion. But he took the course again and successfully received the degree of Doctor of Law in 1968. As a student, Biden was able to postpone his draft to Vietnam, and after graduation, he received a deferment due to asthma. At the university, Joe met Nellie Hunter, whom he married in 1966. The couple had 3 children, sons Beau and Hunter, and daughter Naomi. In 1968, the family settled in Wilmington, where Biden got a job as a law clerk and then became a public defender. In 1970, Joseph opened his own firm, dealing with criminal and corporate cases, as well as property management. In 1970, Joe was elected to the Newcastle County Council as a Democrat. On January 5, 1971, the young politician was sworn in and, without ceasing to practice law, served on the council until his election to the U.S. Senate in November 1972. He defeated a more experienced and popular Republican candidate and became one of the youngest senators in U.S. history. He reached the minimum age for this position shortly before the inauguration. A month and a half after he was elected to the new position, Biden's wife Nelia and her children went to buy Christmas decorations. On the way there, a truck crashed into her car. Nellie and little Naomi were killed, and their sons were seriously injured. Joe Biden took the oath of office for his first Senate term right in the hospital room where Beau and Hunter were. In 1974, Senator Biden was named among the 200 Faces of the Future Who Will Make History by Time magazine. Despite his success in politics, Joe became a widower with 2 children. He got depressed and even considered suicide. But in 1975, on a blind date, he met an English teacher, Jill Tracy Jacobs, who, according to Joe, inspired a renewed interest in life and political activity. Joe and Jill later got married in 1977, and 4 years after that, they had a daughter named Ashley. When Ashley grew up, she worked as a social worker and even created her own clothing brand. In 1979, Biden visited Moscow when the Soviet leadership invited him to take part in a discussion about the reduction of strategic arms. In addition, he visited Leningrad, where he laid a wreath on the monument dedicated to the motherland at Piskarevsky Memorial Cemetery. From 1987 to 1995, Biden held a chair in the Judiciary Committee in the Senate. In June of 1987, Joe Biden's presidential campaign began, and the senator was considered to be potentially one of the strongest candidates. But the politician refused to participate in the race after he was convicted of plagiarism. He almost word for word repeated the speech by British Labour leader Neil Kinnock, including mentioning his ancestors who were minors, which the American did not have. In 1988, the politician was diagnosed with an aneurysm in 2 of his brain vessels. Doctors successfully performed emergency surgery. After that, he underwent rehabilitation and returned to work in the Senate 7 months later. According to official declarations for 1998, the politician earned a total of $250,000. Since 1995, Biden has been a member of the Congressional Caucus on Armenian issues. In 2001, he became chairman of the U.S. Senate Committee on Foreign Relations. He held this position until 2003 and then continued to do so from 2007 to 2009. As a senator, Biden played a key role in shaping U.S. international policy and also participated in the development and implementation of many bills within the country. At that time, he held conservative views and later apologized for many of his past decisions and even canceled some of them altogether. In 2008, Biden again attempted to run for president, but this time he voluntarily left the election race and focused on re-election to the Senate. However, the winner of the election, Barack Obama, chose Joseph Biden for the post of vice president. So on January 15, 2009, the politician resigned from the Senate, having worked there for 36 years. All this time, he was considered one of the poorest senators. At first, his salary was only $42,500 a year, and then remained at the level of $155,000 to $200,000 a year, including earnings for teaching. Biden took a loan out to ensure that his children received a higher education while his son Hunter worked as a laborer in his youth. Unlike most senators, Joe Biden refused to move to Washington and commuted to work every day from Wilmington by train. Therefore, in 2011, the city's railway station was named in honor of Joseph Biden Jr. In 2009, the politician's salary as vice president was $225,000 a year, plus benefits. Together with his wife, the Bidens received an additional $127,000 in Social Security and pensions a year. For comparison, until 2009, Joe Biden received only about $6,500 in benefits. As vice president, the politician oversaw the Obama administration's foreign policy course. In 2012, the Democratic Party of the United States again nominated Biden for the post of vice president in the 2012 election, paired with President Obama. As a result, they were re-elected for a second term. In 2015, the politician's eldest son, Beau, died of brain cancer at the age of 46. He was married, had a daughter and a son, and served as the Attorney General of Delaware. In 2016, when Joe Biden was ready to leave the post of vice president, he earned $400,000 to $1.5 million a year, according to various estimates. In 2017, Biden was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom for faith in fellow citizens and love for the country. Obama called him the best vice president in U.S. history. On January 20th, 2017, after Donald Trump's inauguration, Biden resigned as vice president. In February, the former vice president began teaching international diplomacy to students at the University of Pennsylvania and was in charge of the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement. In the same year, Joe and Jill Biden founded a cancer foundation, but after a few years, the organization's activities were suspended. Biden became a sought-after public speaker, often earning hundreds of thousands of dollars per speech. Later, he and his wife signed an $8 million contract to write several books. One of them, Promise Me, Dad, was released in 2017 and was accompanied by a promotional tour with tickets costing from $25 to $450. As a result, his revenue in 2017 reached $11 million. In 2018, Biden earned $4.6 million. And in total, from 2016 to 2019, the Biden family's income was just under $17 million. On April 25, 2019, Joseph Biden announced he would be running in the U.S. presidential election. He and Jill made about $1 million that year. Additionally, their income had decreased since Biden took an unpaid leave of absence when he began his campaign. During the election campaign, Joe Biden was met with allegations of corruption. As a result, the activities of his foundation were questioned. They asked why almost all of their funds went to the salaries of employees and not towards fighting cancer. In addition, Biden's activities in the political life of the Ukraine after Euromaidan came under close attention. This was because his second son, Hunter, worked for the Ukrainian oil and gas company Burisma and was involved in a corruption scandal. Also in 2019, Hunter admitted that he had drug problems. Because of his cocaine abuse, he was discharged from the U.S. Navy and underwent rehabilitation several times. He explicitly spoke about this period of his life so that the media wouldn't later abuse it in stories that would discredit his father's reputation. Biden has been accused several times of inappropriate non-sexual contact, such as hugs, kisses, and other forms of physical contact. And in March 2020, an ex-aide to the former senator accused him of sexual misconduct back in 1993, demanding that he plead guilty and withdraw from the election race. The presidential candidate denied all the accusations. On August 18, 2020, Biden was officially nominated at the Democratic National Convention as the party's nominee for president. Biden was elected the 46th President of the United States in November 2020, becoming the oldest president to date, the second ever Catholic president, and the first president from Delaware. In December, Time magazine awarded the title of Person of the Year to U.S. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President of his administration, Kamala Harris. Biden took office on January 20, 2021, and signed 17 executive orders in his first 2 days in office. That's more than most recent presidents in their first 100 days. On March 17th, an interview with Biden was published. There, Biden responded positively to a reporter's question on whether he considers Vladimir Putin a murderer. After this statement, the rate of the Russian ruble fell, and investors started selling off shares of Russian companies. A few days later, a video started circulating on the internet showing Joe Biden tripping several times as he climbed the plane's ramp before flying to Atlanta. The White House attributed the incident to a strong wind, and a wave of memes involving the president emerged on the internet. Biden also called himself a gaffe machine. For example, in his earlier speeches, he confused his wife with his sister, called himself a candidate for the post of senator, and reported the wrong death toll from the coronavirus. Donald Trump took advantage of these frequent mistakes and referred to Biden as Sleepy Joe. Some skeptical journalists also introduced the term Bidenism, meaning numerous missteps. According to Forbes magazine, in 2019, the ex-senator's fortune was estimated at $9 million, including real estate. According to experts, since 1998, Joe Biden and his wife Jill had earned $22.5 million through public service, teaching, public speaking, publication fees, and social benefits, and paid about $6.7 million in income tax. Additionally, the salary for the president's position is $400,000 a year, plus an increase of $50,000 for being the commander-in-chief of the U.S. Armed Forces. At the same time, Jill continues to teach at the college and earns $100,000 a year. Interestingly enough, some of the Biden's funds go to charity. From 1998 to 2016, they donated $70,000. In 2017, $1 million. to support both the Catholic Diocese of Wilmington and the United Jewish Federation of Chicago. In 2018, $276,000 went to charity, and in 2019, $15,000. According to U.S. media reports, as of October 2020, the politician owns 2 mansions in the state of Delaware. Joe and Jill Biden's main residence is located in the upscale Wilmington suburb of Greenville. The politician bought a plot of 4 acres on a lake shore in 1996 for $350,000. Then built a house with an area of more than 6,800 square feet on it. Then he made repairs himself, scraping asbestos from pipes in the basement and painting the walls. The house is a 5-minute drive from St. Joseph's Roman Catholic Church, where the Biden family attends services. During his vice presidency, the politician rented this house out to the Secret Service for $2,200 a month. When Beau Biden was diagnosed with cancer, the Bidens wanted to sell the mansion to spend the money on his treatment. But Barack Obama dissuaded Joe from doing this, personally lending him the money. In 2015, the house was shot at, but the owners weren't there at the time. Now the cost of the mansion is estimated to be $1 to $2 million, while they say that the Bidens are still paying off the mortgage. In 2018, Joe and Jill paid $2.7 million for a summer house of about 4,800 square feet in the Rehoboth Beach on the Atlantic Ocean. That same year, the Bidens rented a mansion in McLean, Virginia for $20,000 a month. The new American leader is known for his passion towards real estate. He bought his first homes at the age of 20, taking out several mortgages at the same time. After buying and quickly selling 3 small and expensive homes, Joe Biden made his first major purchase. He bought a century-old colonial house on North Star Road in Wilmington. This house was sold 9 years later after the death of his first wife and daughter. Then in 1974, the politician bought the DuPont family mansion on Star Road with an area of almost 10,000 square feet for $185,000. He did this after learning that it was going to be demolished and made repairs there. Biden called the house his station, making it his political center for the next 2 decades. In 1996, the villa was sold according to various sources for $1.2 to $1.6 million. After taking office, Joe Biden made some changes to the Oval Office at the White House, removing the flags of U.S. military units and putting up busts of equal rights activists. Also, family photos appeared on the dresser behind his desk. Biden also moved his pets to the White House, 2 German Shepherds, Champ and Major, both taken from a shelter. A few days before the presidential inauguration, the Delaware Humane Association, which protects animals, held its virtual ceremony on Zoom. It was called the inauguration. It honored Major as the first shelter dog to get the opportunity to run on the lawn at the White House. However, the dogs were soon temporarily taken to the Biden's residence in Delaware. Allegedly, Major bit one of the security staff of the residence. However, they were promptly returned, and the White House press secretary promised that soon the 2 dogs would be joined by a cat. On another note, the U.S. president is a big fan of cars. At graduation, Joe was entrusted to drive his father's 1961 Chrysler 300G. Later, Biden Jr.'s first car was a 1951 Studebaker. It was followed by a 1952 caramel red Plymouth convertible and a Mercedes-Benz 190 SL. But his 1967 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray convertible, a wedding gift from his father, holds a special place in the president's heart. And later, Joe's sons restored the car's engine as a Christmas gift. The revived car even starred in the Biden's campaign video. As a requirement of the Secret Service, the president and the vice president cannot drive a car. Biden has admitted that this is the only thing that he hates about the job. But as president, Joe Biden plans to replace the government's current vehicles with American-made electric cars with 0 emissions. The Biden family has had many cases of alcohol abuse, so the current U.S. president does not drink or smoke. But he loves ice cream, especially chocolate. Tell us in the comments, what do you think about the new U.S. president? If you liked the video, Please leave a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss anything interesting.